They need to understand where you are on the testing and what that means in terms of quality, right? But that's not the same information that you're going to give to a senior manager, right? So if there's somebody who's a couple levels above in the organization comes wandering by and asks you, how's it going? You don't tell her the same thing that you told your peers at the daily stand-up meeting, right? Because that's not what they need to know, right? The conversation you have in the daily stand-up meetings is a tactical conversation, how we get from one day to the next, getting stuff done. But what she wants to know is, how we do it. You know, overall with this release, are we headed in a successful direction? How's the product looking, right? So, think about the audience. The audience has information needs, and they also have there's a frequency issue, how frequently they need to know, right? And you can easily overwhelm people. So that's part of the conversation. How frequently do you want to get information from me? Okay? Yeah, great question. Yeah.
Okay. The question I have, typically in waterfall model, like, you get a hard stop. Okay, you finish your testing, you publish a report, and it's kind of a go. Whereas in Agile, okay, it's a continuous testing. So you test some iterations, you move on to next. Mm-hmm. So now in this situation, okay, when you talk about giving more insight and confidence than just throwing the statistics, okay. In Agile, many times it happens like, we even as a test manager also know, not very sure, how the quality is moving, because we know that it's this cycles, which are coming in, the features which are not working in this particular iteration perhaps will work. So should I press a panic button now, or it's like too early to press a panic button and say, look, it's kind of not the quality what we are looking for. It's a bit hard to take a decision when you're in Agile. So what do you suggest?
Yes, that's true. If part of going to Agile in your organization was, hey, guess what? We don't have to measure anything anymore. Let's throw away all of our test metrics. We don't report bugs because that's not Agile. We don't have test case status because that's not Agile. We don't do traceability because that's not Agile. I've heard all that. Okay, then you don't know jack about testing and quality. Sorry. You can't measure it, you can't manage it. Okay? I know that's kind of a controversial statement right now because there's a lot of people out there jumping up and down about how we don't need estimates and we don't need metrics. That's nonsense. Okay? So if that's what's happened in your organization, there's a deeper issue. It made to tear your eyes out. Right? When I tear my eyes out, I don't see anything horrible. Yeah, but you don't see anything at all. Okay? So that's a bigger issue. Now, if you still have metrics being gathered, right, but you're just feeling like it's really hard to keep up because I've got all of these Agile teams and they're all sort of spinning independently, and how do I get a coherent picture out of that? Yeah, that's definitely a big challenge. You're right. It's harder in Agile because, for one thing, you have 7 or 8 teams going in parallel many times. You have constant change, right? I mean, in a waterfall, before you start system test, it's great, because theoretically, because you're feature complete, right? So basically what you are in a system test is like one big long hardening sprint, right? So there's no new features coming in, and it's just a matter of just measuring progress towards adequate level of quality. But now, in Agile, no, you're not doing that because you've got ever-increasing scope of the product. So yes, it is more challenging. I totally agree. The first thing that I would say is make sure that you haven't thrown away known best practices in terms of metrics and managing quality and so forth, and then try to extend those into situations of change going on simultaneously. Okay? It can be done. I have clients that are doing it, that are applying proven best practices for quality management and test metrics and so forth in Agile environments.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, and we have time for other questions?
No, we have ran short of time. Thanks, Rex, for the
Okay.
Evening session.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Warm round of applause for Rex.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, so Rex would be here whole day. Of course, he's taking a workshop in the Embassy Hall. So today is the second day of the workshop on testing metrics. So now time has come to announce the winner of the first groupie. The person gets a voucher of 5,000 rupees, and the person is Preeti Arora. Ma'am, you can be there. We'll be sending you the, the certificate via email, or we'll post it on the same Facebook. So the how to post it, that's the question. So to post the groupie or selfie, you can put the post on your timeline and you give a hashtag WCNGT15. WC for World Conference, NGT for Next Gen Testing 15. So every hour we'll be announcing the winner. I would like to thank our sponsors. So starting with silver sponsor SmartPair, who have some awesome testing tools. The knowledge partner KPMG. Of course, we will be doing the next generation testing survey also. So you might have been given the survey form. So KPMG along with NGT Conf are doing this survey. The whole idea is to prepare a white paper on the pulse of software testing. So based on your input, and of course the inputs of various other folks who gave their inputs online, we'll be coming up with a pulse of software testing survey, and we'll be sharing it with you free of cost. So do fill in the survey and hand it over at the KPMG desk, which is outside. So you can fill the survey and hand it over to them. We'd like to thank our supporting partners Tech Mahindra and TestMile for helping us in running this event. Our bronze sponsor Magna Infotech and silver sponsor AdTech. AdTech is a company which is into agile testing and DevOps, DevQAOps kind of consulting as well as services. We thank our bronze sponsors, The Last Mile, our supporting partner Agile Testing Alliance, with whom we run the biggest agile testing conference in Bangalore every year in October. Of course, next year we are planning in Pune also, Pune in February. And our bronze sponsor, TestInsane, a company that is started by Santosh. He will be here. You will not miss him. He'll be coming. He's another panel member. So TestInsane is a company that is doing a lot of cool stuff on software testing and creating awesome IPs and sharing it with the world, and and a believer of open source. So with this, now we are ready with our panel discussion. So request all the panel members to come on stage, please. Now, the way we want to run the panel, we want to have a very heated discussion. That's what the panel members will do. So the topic is open source tool versus proprietary software tool. So we have a panel which will be divided. So request Ashish Mathur, test automation tools architect from IBM. Santosh Tuppar, founder and managing director of TestInsane Technologies. If you can come on stage, please. Nitin Chaudhary, Assistant Vice President, Arisent. Prashant Vashisht, Quality Manager, SAP Labs. And Rajni Padmanabhan, Senior Director, QA Infotech. Can we have all the ladies and gentlemen on stage, please? So actually what we had planned was that we will divide the hall between those who support open source and those who support proprietary software tools. Now I think it will be messy, but with just a raise of hand, how many of you are supporter of open source tools? Okay, so I don't think then we need to divide the hall. Okay, so we have a panel member, Rajni, if you can come on stage. So Rajni, she's the Senior Director at QA Infotech. She will be managing the session. Of course, while I'm talking, the guys are setting up the stage here. So just bear with us for a minute. So we have team from IBM and SAP who would be talking in favor of proprietary tools. Should I say in favor? Not that, Okay. And we have Santosh Tuppar and Nitin, I think, in supporting the open source community. Okay, so of course there will be a lot of, and we want a heated discussion. I know a lot of you support open source tool, but is this what you're using in your organization? Now this is something, yeah, I can see a lot of, so why and when will you start? So all these things will be, discussed. We want to create a war room here. Is it possible? Do you want to shout? You tell me, how do you want this to run? Arnab kind of session? We have our own Barkhadat anyway here, Rajni. So Rajni, I'll hand it over to you, and for the proceedings. Can we have all the panel members please be here on stage, please?
Thank you, Nitesh. Hi, everyone. Good morning. And folks, I did see a lot of you raise your hands pretty much in unanimity for the open source side of things. So even before we start, a quick disclaimer here, right? So our friends here from the commercial side of things, see, we are moving into a world of collaboration, as you all would agree. So they are also heavily invested in some sense in helping the open source community grow. So if you see Ashish from IBM or Prashant from SAP, they are also actively contributing to the open source community, trying to add value. The reason we've divided them as 2 on this side and 2 on the other side is to be able to give you a comprehensive representation and sort of hear their side of things as well. So we have sort of a preset questions to trigger the discussion in sort of a diverse range of topics. So we will have opportunities for you all to chime in, ask questions, share your inputs as well. But with that said, I do thank all of them to sort of be here to give us that comprehensive representation. Because I think end of the day when we walk out, even if we were a complete believer in open source, the idea is to also hear the other side of things to see what they've got to say. Or say, even if we're a complete believer in commercial. So let's get to hear what's there on the other side of things. I'm sure there's something that we're going to learn new from the conversation we're going to have with them. Sounds good? Any questions? Okay, cool. That's my share now. So a quick intro. Let's do like a 1-minute intro of each of us before we get started. So I'm Rajni, as Nitesh mentioned. I'm from QA Infotech. I've been in the quality space for about 13, 14 years now, primarily in the services side of things. So the good thing is I've had an opportunity to work both on commercial tools as well as the open source side of things. So hopefully I can maintain that neutrality and sort of driving the conversation here. I'll let the others introduce themselves too.
Hi everyone, I'm Prashant Vashish. I'm from SAP Labs. I work as a quality manager there. I have over around 12 years experience, primarily into testing and quality side. I cater to the quality management role in the custom development business unit of SAP. I'm supposed to play the role of an advocate of license or proprietary software, but as Rajni mentioned, we do use some open source, and there are instances where I'll kind of cite from my side the instances we have used the open source in our day-to-day activity. Yep.
Good morning. My name is Ashish Mathur, and I'm a development architect for Rational Tools. I see some smiles in the crowd, so thanks for that. So I've been building these tools for a pretty long time, but before that I have been in the field actually doing consulting and testing projects, so that kind of gave me the experience of what's missing in the tools, whether it's open source or commercial, doesn't matter, but it helped me kind of get into the development role and build the tools that we build today. I heard Rex earlier say some things about commercial tools and some things he resisted saying, and I'm hoping we can have a private conversation later and he can tell me what's seriously missing in the tools and I can go back develop. So I'm here, the thing is it's not just commercial, right? It's like Prashant said, it's open source is everywhere. I don't think there's a way around it. I don't think there should be a way around it. I think there's value in it, but there's more value to be created on top of that. What I see 5 years, 10 years from now is we are not writing the line of code, so to say.
Hi, I'm Santosh Tupad, and I think, you must be knowing TestInsane. It's TESTINSANE. So it's insane is a one word. It's not like insane. Okay, so we develop a lot of tools in-house, and which include proprietary, and as well even the free and open source stuff to the world. And our mission for next few years is to kill the IP of others and make it free. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, for more information, you can visit the website, testinsane.com. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Looks like Santosh has got the heat sort of triggered, started out there. So as we start, right, firstly, what I want to do is get all of us on the same page, kind of a level setting, if you will. So I want to give each of the panelists a minute to really tell us what is the current state of the market. See, we all know the standard obvious things of cost savings, the sophistication of certain tools, maturity. We all know this. You know, we work with tools day in and day out. But let's hear from them on the larger side of things. Where is the current market really heading, and what is it looking like both for the commercial and for the open source? So let's start off on the commercial side of things.
Yeah, sure. It's amazing how many software testing tools there are now for the latest buzzwords, for the latest technologies. You would have thought mobile testing started very recently, but if you search on the web, there is an amazing number of tools. And what you will also find is that they all pretty much do the same thing, right? They let you interact with applications. Some of them let you test performance. Some of them provide a device cloud with it. But they're pretty much all the same. So I think it's a pretty good battle we have on our hands to figure out where to stand out from one tool versus the other. And everybody has their favorites, whether it's from the past or from their environment. But I think where we are with testing right now is I think we need to get away from the simple of, like I said, click button and make sure the button worked, or check the CPU and make sure it's decent usage. But I think it's way more than that. And I heard some teams which said we're doing agile testing, we're doing testing much earlier in the cycle. At that point, you're not going to create test cases that are, say, click button, right? You're going to actually make sure that the development of the tool happens in a manner in which you're not spending your weekends testing 3 months from now. So I think the evolution has to go to that point where the earlier you know, the better. In fact, you have to influence the development to build it in a certain way, so that your application is testable right from start. Waterfall is history, right? It's a long time ago. So I mean, from that standpoint, in fact, the features that you put in the tools, testers have to question the development team. Is this feature useful enough? Why are you even working on this? Why am I testing a feature that probably nobody ever will use? So I think that's where that's where testing I see happening. I don't see it happening as an afterthought. I see it happening. So hence, for the analysis tools about applications, about what we are building, is probably going to become much more important than traditional testing. That's where I see, and that's, again, to plug what I'm working on, that's where our research, that's where IBM Research or IBM Software Development together works on, is what are we doing 5 years from now? And I don't see us doing what we do today, frankly. And more faster than in the past. Sometimes I wonder, we spend so much time doing what we did 20 years ago. And when my testers come back and say, I ran this scenario and it runs end to end, I'm able to open a bank account, I'm like, that's exactly what I did 20 years ago. I mean, why are we even having to do that today? So what we propose is not testing, but the incorporation of quality in the application long before testing is even thought of. And the whole idea of writing 40-page test plans and documents, I don't know how we have the time to do that anymore. We have to build much more value than that, right? So that's where I see going. It's more of quality incorporated into the applications than actually testing it as an afterthought.
Okay, fine. So I, from SAP perspective, will give an end user perspective, because we in SAP don't kind of say make tools as such for the proprietary use of others. We kind of have in-house tools, and then we use the tools of IBMs and HPs and the others companies of the words. So what we see from SAP perspective is the integration happening on various aspects. It could be testing, it could be test planning, it could be automation, it could be any kind of scans. So we kind of our customers expect us to give the value to them in a faster and better way. And that's where 5 years earlier, what we used to do doesn't hold good anymore. And that's where the things which we used to do earlier using testing tools don't hold good for us, and the same tools we cannot continue using for the next 5 years. That's where the integration comes into the picture. By integration, what I mean is when the testers have to test something, they used to do manual testing or automation testing, and somebody else will generate reports from a different tool, or they'll use some Excel, or they'll use some other methods of generating the reports. Now the analytical tools are there, which are integrated with the current tools, and there are tools which will give us value in one go itself. I don't have to juggle around in 3 or 4 tools to take care of the information which I'm looking for. The same holds good for the proprietary as well as for open source. For SAP, it doesn't make sense kind of to say, okay, we will use only the proprietary tools, or we would not use the open source perspective. So that's where the market also is kind of the trend itself is into integration of open source as well as the proprietary and licensed tool, and that's where the world is coming to. And ultimately, the end result from customer perspective is to give them good quality products and to cater to their needs in a faster and better way.
Thank you, Prashant.
Hello. Yeah, good morning, everybody. So I would like to open up the discussion by saying, why not open source, right? Straight away, coming to the point that, everybody uses open source software, right? Everybody has an Android phone. Everybody's using Linux on their PCs and desktops. So, you're anyway using open source. Why not use open source for testing test tools as well? Because once you use open source tools, you are also leveraging on a rich community of developers, right? You have built some product, you have built a software, which is now going to be used by so many people. And if you are leveraging the open source, then you are leveraging on a big community or ocean, I would say, of people who are actually building these tools, which you can actually use to find issues or defects in the product. Because the cost of recalling a product is much higher. So you wouldn't really want to, the same point which the earlier speaker was talking about, that how come this defect escaped our testing, right? So if you and people are always worried that, okay, let us say a new operating system is launched, and somewhere in one corner of the world, there is a problem found. And then you're worried that, oh, did I have this test case covered? So if you're having an open source, you can use that, you can extend it further, you see how the test cases are written, how the test code is written, you can leverage on that, and your testing becomes much more powerful. So I think there's a real question is why really not use open source? It's so, you get to leverage a vast community, and you can do testing much better. So I think that's really the point. I would like to throw a challenge at the other side, saying that why not? And why it's open source is so popular. So with that, Santosh.
The first question is, okay, we always keep saying tools, and in all the discussion forums, it's like, which tool do I need to use? But where is the idea to use the tool? Okay, first needs to come the brain activity, okay, where you have an idea, and then, okay, you use a tool which will help you in implementing it. And coming from the open source, okay, for instance, okay, you use Google Analytics, right?